I don't have dishonorable intentions. I'm just talking smack.
Boy, did I get chewed out.
You got in trouble?
Oh, yeah, big time.
It started with a single sentence that stunned the house into silence. During what was supposed to be a routine conversation in the kitchen, Mickey Rourke unleashed a homophobic slur at JoJo Siwa. The air shifted instantly. Contestants froze, unsure whether to confront him or wait for producers to intervene. JoJo's reaction was immediate. Her expression went blank, her body tensed, and she quietly left the room. The moment wasn't just caught by the cameras. It was seared into the show's live feed and instantly clipped, shared, and dissected across social media. The clip gained millions of views in hours, with users expressing disbelief and disgust. Viewers began flooding the show's official comment sections, demanding Rourke be ejected from the house. Some even called for a boycott of the season, labeling it unwatchable and a disgrace. Producers acted fast, issuing a formal warning to Rourke later that evening. But even that felt too little. Too late. The warning, read aloud to him in the diary room, cited a clear violation of respect and inclusivity standards. Rourke didn't apologize. Instead, he rolled his eyes, scoffed, and muttered under his breath about snowflakes. The footage of his reaction was leaked, causing even more outrage. Critics slammed the show for what they called a slap-on-the-wrist punishment. JoJo, meanwhile, remained professional, addressing the incident only once in a brief statement to housemates. "I don't accept hate in any form. That's all I'm going to say." Her grace under pressure was widely praised, but fans worried about the toll the incident had taken on her mental health. Within 24 hours, hashtags like #RemoveRourke and #JusticeForJoJo were trending across platforms. Viewers demanded accountability, and news outlets picked up the story, turning what was initially an in-house scandal into an international controversy. Even LGBTQ+ advocacy groups issued public statements condemning both Rourke's behavior and the network's response. One nonprofit called the situation a wake-up call for reality television and urged producers across the industry to reevaluate how they protect contestants from verbal abuse.
Mickey Rourke threatened with eviction from the Celebrity Big Brother house after a conversation with JoJo Siwa about her sexuality.
But inside the Celebrity Big Brother house, things were far from over, and Rourke's reign of chaos had only just begun. But what happened next was even worse. Just days after his explosive remarks toward JoJo Siwa, Mickey Rourke began acting out in ways that startled even the most seasoned producers. The behavior wasn't subtle, it was deliberate. During a routine group task, he openly fiddled with one of the house cameras, pulling at the wiring and muttering that he didn't want to be watched like a lab rat. A hidden crew mic picked up the entire exchange. When confronted by a supervising producer, Rourke reportedly laughed and said, "What are they gonna do? Kick me out? Ratings are through the roof." What he didn't know was that tampering with production equipment violated multiple terms of his contract and potentially broke broadcasting regulations. By the following morning, the network confirmed that an internal investigation had begun. A spokesperson stated that unauthorized interference with camera equipment had occurred, but did not name Rourke directly. Still, it wasn't hard for fans to connect the dots. Livestream watchers had already seen Rourke toying with a ceiling camera in the bathroom hallway. That same night, a portion of the live feed abruptly cut to black without explanation. Rumors swirled. Some speculated that Rourke had succeeded in disabling part of the surveillance system, effectively creating a blind spot. Others claimed he had threatened a crew member off camera, prompting a temporary lockdown of the house. The tension among contestants hit a boiling point. Housemates stopped speaking to Rourke unless absolutely necessary. One contestant, who had been friendly with him earlier in the season, was caught on a hot mic saying, "He's lost it. I don't feel safe." Another housemate began sleeping on the floor of the lounge to avoid being in the same bedroom as Rourke. These moments weren't scripted. They weren't exaggerated for drama. They were real, raw reactions to a situation spiraling out of control. Rourke, however, remained defiant.
So we've got some big news coming in from the Celebrity Big Brother house that Mickey Rourke has been issued a formal warning for being homophobic towards JoJo Siwa. In scenes that are going to air in tonight's show, Mickey tells Chris that he's going to vote the lesbian out real quick.
He strutted through the house shirtless, grumbling about censorship, and bragging that he was giving the people a real show. It didn't stop there. During a group dinner, Rourke mocked the way a fellow contestant from Liverpool spoke, mimicking their accent in a way that viewers immediately flagged as offensive. Minutes later, he cornered a female housemate in the backyard and shouted at her during a disagreement about dishes, calling her a washed-up fame chaser and accusing her of riding the show for clout. The incident was cut from the live broadcast, but word spread quickly online. Fans who had seen the raw feed uploaded clips, and within hours, media outlets were calling the situation a PR nightmare in real time. And still, producers held back. Instead of removing Rourke, they quietly began isolating him. He was no longer included in daily tasks. Diary room sessions were reportedly canceled. And for a full 48 hours, he was kept away from communal spaces under the excuse of rest. But it was clear, this wasn't rest. It was containment, a temporary fix for a growing wildfire. And while he sat alone, unbothered, the show's legal team was busy reviewing every second of his footage. What they uncovered would soon bring the entire season to the brink of collapse. Behind the scenes, legal advisors combed through the footage frame by frame. The findings weren't just troubling, they were damning. In addition to the on-air incidents, unbroadcasted clips showed Rourke repeatedly violating personal boundaries.
JoJo then overhears and says, "That's homophobic if that's your reasoning." Chris tells Mickey that he can't do that, and Mickey then interjects and says, "I need a fag," gestures to JoJo and says, "I'm not talking to you." JoJo's left upset by that interaction and gets comforted by Chris.
One unedited recording captured him rifling through a fellow housemate's private drawer in the bedroom. Another clip, sealed from public release but confirmed by legal analysts, caught him whispering crude insults about multiple contestants, including derogatory remarks about their appearance, ethnicity, and past traumas disclosed during group therapy sessions inside the house. That was the final straw. Producers had to act fast. The show's legal clause, known as the zero tolerance policy, had already been triggered by the earlier homophobic comments. Now, with concrete evidence of racial and personal harassment, the clause had enough weight to support immediate removal. But removing Rourke publicly came with a price, admitting the network had allowed his behavior to go unchecked for nearly a week. Sponsors were already uneasy. One family-friendly brand quietly pulled its mid-season ad deal, citing violations of ethical broadcasting standards. Another major backer demanded a formal review of the entire production. Executives feared a full-scale boycott. In a last-ditch effort to manage the fallout, producers decided to let Rourke speak. It was a gamble. During a surprise live segment, Rourke appeared on camera, seated alone in the diary room. He didn't apologize, he didn't explain. Instead, he lashed out, calling the show a setup, accusing fellow housemates of being weak, and declaring that he was the victim of cancel culture. His words were bitter, defensive, and chillingly cold. The audience's reaction was instant. Hashtags condemning the network trended within minutes. A formal petition to remove him surged past 100,000 signatures. Several mental health organizations denounced the segment, warning that it validated toxic behavior instead of addressing it. But even as the outrage intensified, the network still hesitated. They issued a brief statement claiming that they were reviewing all options. But viewers weren't buying it. Comment sections turned brutal. Former contestants spoke out, revealing that they too had experienced unsafe or hostile environments.
As I shared with you all earlier this week, housemate and washed-up actor Mickey Rourke was less than kind to JoJo Siwa
During past seasons, but had been told to stay quiet for the sake of ratings. For many, this was the breaking point. What was once a beloved reality show was now under full public attack. A primetime investigation segment aired on national TV, highlighting the growing number of complaints filed against the season, now totaling more than 17,000. Finally, the silence broke. At 2 a.m. London time, the show's live stream abruptly cut to black. Viewers stared at a blank screen for over 5 minutes before a statement appeared. Due to a breach of house rules, one contestant has been removed. Further updates will follow. Rourke was gone, no exit interview, no goodbye, just erased. And in that moment, the show shifted from entertainment to national scandal. What began as a ratings-grabbing season had now become a case study in how far reality TV will go to protect controversy, until it explodes. But even with Rourke gone, the damage was far from over. Behind the scenes, the situation had reached a fevered pitch as the show's legal team scrambled to contain the fallout. Frantic meetings stretched late into the night as lawyers sifted through mountains of footage and contractual fine print, hunting for a legal avenue that would protect both the network's reputation and its financial interests. According to legal filings later obtained by entertainment watchdog groups, every celebrity who entered the house had agreed to a strict conduct clause in their contract, a clause that Mickey Rourke had now blatantly violated on multiple occasions. From hate speech to tampering with production equipment, the infractions were stacking up like a damning indictment.
He used some derogatory language towards the former Dance Moms star turned influencer and gay pop goddess. That description is funny. What Mickey Rourke said was not funny.
Yet, despite the overwhelming evidence, producers hesitated. Executing a formal dismissal would be an admission of failure, an acknowledgement that they had knowingly let his behavior fester on live television for far too long. It wasn't just about removing a problematic contestant. It was about preserving the fragile facade of control. In a desperate bid for damage control, they chose what they believed was a safer compromise: isolation. For a tense 48 hours, Rourke was cut off from the heart of the house's daily rhythm. He was banned from the diary room, silenced from the confessionals that had once been his stage. Group tasks went on without him, his absence a glaring shadow over every scene. There were no conversations, no interactions, only a hollow quiet and the cold gaze of constant surveillance. Cameras tracked his every move, capturing the restless pacing and brooding glances of a man who, for the first time, seemed to sense the walls closing in. Outside, the audience was watching too, growing more impatient by the hour. The producers had bought themselves a fleeting moment of control, but at a steep cost. The tension inside the house didn't ease. It thickened, waiting for the inevitable explosion. The backlash was nothing short of a tidal wave. The network's official complaint inbox, usually a quiet repository of routine viewer feedback, was suddenly overwhelmed by an avalanche of outrage. In less than 72 hours, over 15,000 formal complaints poured in from furious viewers, demanding accountability. Each message carried a common thread of disbelief and anger, as fans questioned how such blatant misconduct had been allowed to unfold unchecked on live television. The uproar didn't stop with the audience. Major sponsors, rattled by the scandal's growing visibility, began pulling their advertisements from the show, unwilling to have their brands associated with the controversy.
JoJo Siwa is upsettingly receiving a lot of homophobia in the Celebrity Big Brother house, as another celebrity just used a homophobic slur directly at her.
The blow was swift and severe, cutting into the show's financial lifeline. The show's reputation deepened when a line. The backlash reached an even more damning crescendo when a prominent children's charity, once proudly partnered with the program, publicly severed ties. In a strongly worded statement, they condemned the network's failure to protect contestants from targeted abuse, a criticism that reverberated across media outlets and social platforms alike. The damage to the leading national newspaper splashed the scandal across its front page under the biting headline, "Big Brother or Big Bully?" The image of the headline, bold and unmissable, circulated rapidly online, crystallizing public sentiment and casting a long shadow over the network's handling of the crisis. What had once been a ratings juggernaut was now teetering under the weight of scandal, its future uncertain as the fallout continued to snowball. Less than 12 hours after the live feed went dark and the ominous message flashed across screens, Mickey Rourke was quietly removed from the Celebrity Big Brother house. There was no dramatic send-off, no final confessional, no orchestrated farewell scene to soften the blow. He simply vanished, his exit as stark and unsettling as his presence had been. The cameras that had once followed his every move now panned past his empty bed without pause. No exit interview aired, no final words were offered to the audience that had watched the scandal unfold in real time. And with Rourke's abrupt disappearance, something else left the house too. Something far less tangible, but infinitely more damaging: the trust of the viewers. For many longtime fans, the show's integrity had been irreparably fractured. What was once seen as thrilling reality entertainment now felt tainted by negligence.
Which then literally caused her to break down crying.
I'm gonna vote the lesbian out. I need a fan.
So on just day 2 of Big Brother, which if you remember was the same show Trisha Paytas quit because she couldn't stand living with those people anymore.
And a lack of accountability. But as the dust began to settle inside the house, the aftermath outside was only beginning. Legal experts, speaking across news networks and social media platforms, warned that lawsuit seemed inevitable. Not only could Rourke himself face serious consequences, but the network too was under intense scrutiny for its failure to act swiftly and decisively. Allegations of negligence and complicity loomed large. And JoJo Siwa? Against all odds, she returned to the game, her posture upright and her expression composed, carrying herself with a quiet resilience that earned her widespread respect. Yet behind her bright smile, one truth lingered unmistakably in the air. No matter how the season unfolded from this point on, the events that had transpired would forever be etched into the show's history. This would be the season everyone remembered, not for its twists or triumphs, but for the storm that had threatened to consume it entirely.